Welcome to One on One. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14. We've got our local delegate, Carl Anderton, is here. Welcome, Carl.
Hey, brother. How are you, man?
So you are in the General Assembly, and things are about to happen for you. You're about to go up there and spend 3 months. And tell me about what you're about to do.
Absolutely. You know, we've figured the cycle out. You know, we come home in April.
This is your fourth time. You're going up there for your fourth time.
And so, you know, things kind of, you know, when you come home in April, May, June, you kind of talk about what you did. And then as soon as the 4th of July hits, you know, between the 4th of July to Labor Day, you know, that's when a lot of, you know, okay, what's going to happen next? And after Labor Day, it's like, okay, what are you going to do? And so it's just like this. And so we're right at that point now where we're about to go back and, you know, so we're having bill ideas brought to us, and we're looking at bill ideas that other people are proposing to see if they're helpful or harmful to us. And so we're kind of doing a lot of jockeying for position now, and seeing where we need to position ourselves, you know, on certain issues.
Now, they sort of pay me to keep an eye on you. And
really?
The first year you went in there during the headlights.
Yeah.
And now you're like the guy.
Well, I don't know
how did that happen?
I ain't nobody, brother, but I mean, I'm just me. I mean, you know, I just went in, I take it serious, and we do a lot of homework. You know, and so, you know, so that way we know what we're doing and what we're talking about, and, you know, we've positioned ourselves. Again, I keep using the word position because that's what it is. You have to make sure you're at the right place at the right time to succeed. And so, you know, we're able to go to the governor when we need anything. The governor's become a friend of mine. The Speaker of the House is a friend of mine. You know, anytime we need anything, we have checks and balances in place with all the committee chairs for, you know, bills that we're looking at that are good, bills that we're looking at that may not be good, and budget items. And so, you know, we're able to get everything we need in the governor's budget for Wicomico County, and we're able to do it by not even being on the budget committee. And that's because, you know, we've built a network really quick. Right. And, you know, having help from the governor's office and you know, our friends in Annapolis, we're able to get things done. Well,
your committee is actually a pretty important committee.
The one I serve on, yes, absolutely. It's environment transportation. So, you know, when you see infrastructure projects going around the state and around the lower shore, like, you know, there was a lot of discussion on 404, you know, the bridge work on the bypass, you know, the environment, of course, you know, everybody's talking about the bay, poultry industry, ag, you know, all those things that encompass our environment, you know, are things that we deal with.
Yeah, so much goes through there. Now, I've been around you and the governor, and it's obvious the governor really does like you.
I can't figure it out, man. No, he's just a laid-back guy, you know, and so he, you know, it's kind of a very similar thing, you know. I mean, we you know, we get done what we need to get done, but we try to have some fun doing it.
Right.
You know, and it's just been a real awesome experience getting to know him as a person, and you know, he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. Everybody's one of the smartest people I've ever met, but it's just really interesting seeing how he juggles everything and gets a lot accomplished so fast, and so we're just trying to mimic that. Someone
said to me, actually the county executive was criticizing the Speaker of the House, Michael Bush, in an interview that I did, and they said, you know, he shouldn't have done that because at some point the county's going to need Michael Bush, and he's going to remember that. I hear people say about you're too complimentary of Michael Bush because he's supposed to be the enemy in so many ways. So, so how should you treat with that Democratic leadership in Annapolis?
I mean, you hold true to yourself. Your beliefs are your beliefs, and you don't let those go. But if somebody's willing to help you out, I mean, again, the least you should be able to do is thank them for it.
Right.
You know, if somebody, you know, if you were broke down on the side of the road and I came and picked you up, took you home, and you just got out of the car and said, go away.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the least you would say is, hey, thanks, man.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of what it is. But I mean, I've gotten to know the Speaker as a person outside of politics, and that's the thing now. You get to know these folks on a personal level, and you realize that, you know, you have different beliefs, yes, but you're still people, and you have some common interests that are outside of politics that really helps form a bond there. And you know, So it's just, it's kind of where we're at. And so, you know, if people want to criticize somebody, I mean, they're certainly entitled to. But I have seen that sometimes those things do come back. Yes, they do. It's kind of like, you ever watch the TV show Big Brother?
Yeah.
Or Survivor?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like that. You know, you have your strategic alliance, you know, and then you have your outward alliance, you know, and then when somebody says something, it ripples around, and then that person's booted off the island.
Right.
So,
well, there's some people in the delegation who, you know, what they do is they end up spending a lot of time criticizing the Democratic leadership.
right.
And I don't know what that really gets us.
Nothing. It gets you nothing.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, it's the leadership. You know, anything that's brought here is done through the leadership. It's not one person going up there. You know, it's not me going up there saying, I want this, I'm taking this.
Right.
No, you got to have 140 people agree with you.
Right.
You know, and so 92, 91 of them are of a different party affiliation. When you get to Annapolis, I mean, you know, in life in general, that stuff doesn't matter. I mean, it's, you know, if you and I agree on something, I don't care what other issues. It's that particular issue right there, that point.
Right.
You know, let's work together. Then when we get to an issue that we don't agree on, well, then we can have some fun with that. But when we can come together on something, then let's just line up and go. And it's just, it's that simple. And again, it's because, you know, being a former mayor and a council member, nobody was party affiliated. It was just you representing your neighbors. And so I still carry that forward. It's just me representing my home, you know, Delmar, Fruitland, and Salisbury. And so
Right.
whatever it takes to get that done without compromising your soul,
Right.
you do it. And so, you know, that's, and I don't understand why people just throw criticisms out I don't get it. It serves no purpose. You know, you see right through it, and then, you know, the person that's being criticized sees through it. I've seen it firsthand in Annapolis, and I just kind of sit back and say, whew, man, I'm glad I don't do that. Because it just, you gain nothing.
Right.
You know, I mean, you gain maybe a moment of a line in a newspaper, but you lose so much on the back end of it. And so you kind of have to, it's like the TV shows I was just mentioning, you kind of have to see the whole thing through
Right.
before you do it. And so, you know, it's kind of like what I've taught my boys, my kids, is that for every action there's a reaction. So before you make your action, you got to expect what the reaction is going to be. So sometimes it's better just to...
Right. The hot issue right now, we have a column in the paper this week from the governor about the Paid Sick Leave Act.
Yeah.
I guess he's offering a compromise. We'll see what the Democrats do. Where are you on that whole thing?
You know, it's very interesting. You know, I get the premise behind it. You know, of course, everybody, you know, wants, you know, to be able to take off work when they're sick and not have to worry about losing money. I mean, I get all that. But in the same time, you have a lot of small businesses just starting out. I mean, that's a very cumbersome financial burden. And so, you know, the small companies starting need to be kind of protected. The Walmarts and Walgreens of the world and all those places.
They have policies.
They can, yeah. But the small guys that are just starting out, you know, I mean, we're seeing a lot of startups happening up around here. And so, you know, I think with the governor's plan, he's offering some incentives to help, you know, not to help foster that environment, you know, and without the financial burden being so great. And so, you know, I'm really hoping that we can find a way to kind of get the best of both worlds. You know, if everybody wants to, and you kind of leave your ego at the door a little bit, we can find a way to get something done that really helps everybody. And to me, that's kind of the whole point.
Right. I think that might be why the governor remains popular, because he is a compromise kind of guy.
Yeah, you have to. You can't just go in there and just bang on the desk and say, I want, and not give anything in return.
Which is what Bob Ehrlich did.
Well, I don't know, but...
Yeah, he did that a lot, but yeah.
Yeah, well, we see how that kind of, you know, he's a great guy, though.
Yeah,
Great guy.
Yeah, he's great. Now, usually in an election year, the General Assembly term, not a lot goes on.
Right.
Because no one wants to be upset before the election. What's going to happen this session?
Well, we're going to find out together, brother. You know, we're going to find out together. It's, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of bills. I think there's going to be it's going to be very...
The last 2 years, they've set a record for the number
Right.
of bills introduced.
I think they'll set another one
Yeah.
this year, and I think you're going to see some bills that you're going to be like, really? You know, and it's all about that mail piece that
Right.
goes out in the mail that, you know, I fought for this
Right.
or I fought against that. But the thing is, for us, you know, with a lot of these bills, we have to be vigilant and we have to stay on top of them, because if you say, well, that bill's really crazy, nobody's going to pay that no mind. And you shift your attention away, then that's the one that actually will pass.
Right.
And then you're stuck living with it.
Or
And
it gets
so
traction and comes
Right.
back the next year.
that's even worse.
Yeah, you see that all the time.
Right. And so, we have to just kind of cast our net wide and make sure we gather up all these bills that we think are crazy.
Right.
And just make sure that they stay away. And so it's going to be very busy for us, someone like me on the committee I serve on. I mean, it's going to be a lot of late nights. So a lot of Mountain Dew Kickstart. I may learn to actually drink coffee this winter just for the caffeine.
Right.
So a lot of 5-hour energies, because we're just going to have to be wide open on all these different issues.
What is the issue that you're trying to get through this year? Is it funding for education? We got some school construction.
All those things.
What are you going to do for us?
We're across the board, and we're going to continue to do what we started on day one, and that is to make sure that the county's priorities are in the governor's budget, and they are. And then we're going to continue to whatever is asked of us from Salisbury, Delmar, Fruitland, from the county executive. We're gonna go for that. We serve as that conduit. Basically that pipeline between the local government and the state government. So we're going to continue to do that. There are some issues coming up with our local pharmacists are dealing with some issues with the insurance program in the state of Maryland is one of the more complicated things I've ever seen. You've heard a lot this year about the alcohol bills that are coming up and how our alcohol system is 3-tier and all these things
Right.
very antiquated. I think the insurance program in Maryland is more outdated and archaic than that is.
I forgot about that. The pharmacists were really mad last year, but I can't remember exactly what it was.
Every year, it's another piece that just
Okay.
kind of lines up for our local guys, our local pharmacists, our community shops where we go. And so, we have to make sure that, first, those are jobs, and it's the convenience factor of having your pharmacist right down the street from you versus having to drive, on one direction or the other. But they're dealing with some reimbursement issues. And, it seems like it's a bit of a David Goliath situation. As you know, I tend to kind of like to be on the side of David a little bit. So, we're looking at some things with that. We're trying to work through the regulatory process first before we put in legislation, but we're having some bills drafted to kind of help deal with that and see if we can have that conversation started, gain traction, if you will.
Right.
And see if we can kind of stem the tide, so to speak.
Seems like every year there's a war on poultry. It seems calm right now.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, we've made great strides in that.
I think the integrators have done a lot to
Yes,
help
absolutely.
themselves by a lot.
Aside from the business portion, especially with Purdue being, so far out front, with organic and all these different things they're doing, antibiotics, and that's now everybody's kind of gone antibiotic free and all these different things. Just the communication we've had with our colleagues who for years were sponsoring these bills, they're no longer doing that now, and so these groups are having a harder time finding somebody to carry these bills because
They've
of
taken
the
the bullets out of
relationship
all the
Right.
guns. It's really hard to attack them.
So, but as long as we keep doing what we're doing here, locally, each farmer doing their part, I mean, we're going to be fine. There is some things locally that need to be worked out with zoning and stuff because you are having these big, if you want to call them mega farms or whatever, put in, near neighborhoods, and those things need to be addressed, but that's a county issue or not a state issue right now. And so,
Right.
that's the thing is we get phone calls about that all the time, and I have to explain, that I would carry your concern forward, but I mean it's an issue best suited for the county council or county executive, not something we can do in Annapolis. And so I've come to find with our constituent work, when it's the local stuff, they've been very responsive. Especially the mayor. When I take something to the mayor, he's usually right on it within a couple hours.
Right.
The same thing with the county, that they're replying back, and so, it's one of those things that when you're helping somebody when they call, you want to get it fixed as soon as possible. When it's out of your jurisdiction, so to speak, you
Right.
kind of feel helpless. But we've had pretty good response, especially in Fruitland. The folks in Fruitland are real quick when I have an issue, and so it's just. So we're just kind of all over the place right now, as you can see.
Yeah, there's like some new thought on the business models for the mega farms. Now there was the one at Northwest Road, which we've been talking about for 3 years
Sure.
now. But that guy's decided not to put it in there, and I'm trying to do a follow-up story as to why. And I'm learning that the business has changed so much in just 2 years that there isn't the need for those mega farms right now.
So yeah, the thing is, from what we've found, is that we're kind of at max
Yeah.
right now, and so there's really, you know.
And things are being added are the stuff that like Purdue's doing where the chickens roam free.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a whole different kind of concept. And you know, so one of the things we're looking at is trying to find a way to incentivize, you know, farmers who have defunct chicken houses, ones that are outdated, antiquated, to help take them down,
right,
and get them off the landscape. And then we're looking at, you know, maybe an incentive program for solar panels on some of the newer houses. You know, we're seeing solar panels going on all these fields, you know, but we have these huge roofs. You know, I think we should be kind of doing that before we cover up where we grow the corn that is used to feed the chickens that we eat. You know, so I mean, you know, it's
interesting.
Yeah, so you know, we have you know, ideas, you know, kind of spread out, and we're just kind of paring them down to see which ones actually work and which ones have a shot at doing something. You know, so it's been a very busy but fun 2017.
Right. You've got an interesting district. It's kind of tight. East Salisbury, the city of Salisbury, Delmar, Fruitland. Is that an advantage for you? Because like you look at someone like Charles Otto, his district's spread out, Mary Beth's is all spread out, but you're really like a Salisbury guy.
Yeah, I can be everywhere, you know, within a couple minutes, and I love it. You know, I mean, it's a nice transition from when I was a mayor in Delmar. You know, if somebody had a problem on Walnut Street, I could just walk over. You know, it's the same thing now. If somebody has, I can go to their house in Fruitland, be there in a couple minutes. You know, and it's nice. I like the nature of the district, you know, and of course I know that'll change when they redistrict in a few years, and we'll probably gain some areas out near Pittsville and stuff like that. So I'll get to learn the Pittsville area better than I do now. But you know, it all depends on you know, what the governor does or the House and Senate do when they redraw these lines coming up. And but it's been awesome just being able to be from one end to the other in just a couple minutes, and be everywhere as often as I can.
Great, and that'll be off the 2020 census.
Yeah.
That they'll draw that. So it'll be the election in 2022.
You got it.
Right. There was some talk this most recent time that you might want to run for county executive. Would 2022 be the time that you would run for
We can have that conversation later. I mean, right now, you know, my focus is serving my families, you know, in Fruitland, you know, Salisbury and Delmar, and up in Annapolis, and working with this governor and our friends and colleagues in Annapolis. It's been absolutely one of the highlights of my life, outside of my kids, you know, being able to serve my friends and family up in Annapolis. And you feel the history when you walk in the building, and I smile and get goosebumps every time I walk in that building. You know, even 3 years into this now, every time I walk in, I just kind of smile, and I'm like, this is just incredible, you know. And so it motivates me to work that much harder, realizing the history, the shoulders I stand on as I walk in that building. And the idea of being a county executive, you know, to have the keys to the car someday, yeah, that'd be awesome, you know. But you know, not as of right now. You know, I'm kind of really enjoying what I'm doing.
Well, you're like a local guy. You talk about Walnut Street in Delmar.
Yeah.
You're a very effective mayor. Local issues really kind of turn you on. And it just seems like there's more of an opportunity for that with...
Right, sure. You're absolutely right. You know, more hands-on. And I do like that. I do like that approach. I like being able to just get out in the front lines and just fix it myself. And you know, it's the same thing. Like, you know, Bunky and I, after hurricanes and storms would come through.
Bunky Luffman, who's your assistant, works for the governor now.
Right. You know, we would go out as soon as the storm was over, pick up people's trash cans, move branches out of the streets and stuff like that, because it just seemed like what you're supposed to do.
You don't see a lot of delegates doing that.
You know, so we still do that. You know, I'm knocking on doors, picking up trash. You know, and so it's just kind of ingrained in my head that that's what you're supposed to do. You know, it's not so much being a politician and having your picture taken and getting in the middle of a group so you're the front and center. That's nothing in the end. At the end of the day, it's that public service piece where you're out there, you know, making a legitimate difference in somebody's life, you know.
Your predecessor was very involved with the city. He was city council president.
Sure.
He was on the council for 1,000,000 years. He felt like he knew the city really well, and he did, probably more than anyone, but it wasn't like he was showing up at the city council meetings in the last 10 or 15 years that he was really that involved.
Right.
But you're at all these meetings. You're very involved in the city issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are my people. Right. You know, I mean, I work for them. So if you work for somebody, shouldn't you show up for work? You know, and so I go to as many meetings, the city council meetings in Fruitland, Delmar, Salisbury, county council meetings. I get to as many as I possibly can. If I'm not there, then that means that I'm doing something I just couldn't get out of, because I make those a priority. Because, you know, being a former mayor, you know, and a council member, I had one meeting where just unannounced, Senator Mathias showed up and sat in the audience, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. It's the first time I'd seen somebody from the state level sitting in the council chambers in Delmar, where it wasn't food served or a parade,
right.
You know? And so I just thought that was cool. And so I just kind of thought, well, if I ever get the opportunity, I'm going to do that. And so that's what we do. And so I'll be in the hallway, you know, people will be in the council meeting, and if there's an issue and they say, well, you know, it's a state issue, it's like, poof, you're already there.
Right.
In a one-stop shop, you know? I mean, for somebody to take time, like I said, you know, out of their busy day to go to a council meeting, which is rare enough as it is, you know, if I'm there to be able to help with something the city can't, then, you know, it's 2 for 1. I mean, you get more bang for your time, you
right.
know?
And relationships are obviously very important to you, and you and Mayor Jake Day obviously seem to have a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great guy. You know, again, there are things that we don't agree on. It's okay. You know, he likes bicycle routes a little more than I do. You know, I like wide, nice lanes to drive through, you know.
If you rode a bike, you'd get it.
If I rode a bike, I'd get it. You're right.
The one year I car shared with my son, and I rode my bike everywhere, and I found the beauty of bike lanes.
Right. Oh, I don't dispute that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they are, you know, but I'm always running late, so I like to be able to get, you know, to where I'm going. But I understand, you know, his job is extremely tough, because you're trying to cater to so many different segments of a very diverse population in Salisbury. And so no matter what he does, somebody's not going to be happy. But no matter what he does, somebody's going to be extremely happy. And so, you know, he just has to keep spinning around and you know, and making sure that everybody's getting something in the end. And so, you know, he's doing a great job of that. And, you know, we bounce a lot of ideas off each other. And so it's just, yeah, it's a great relationship. It's cool.
You helped with some funding for downtown from the state.
Absolutely. That was fun. You know, this first time that many people can recall that the city had their own line item in the state budget.
Yeah.
So we're working on that again this year. This budget's going to be extremely tight, because it's an election year budget. And so everybody now who hasn't really done much is looking to bring something home,
right.
You know? And so
you need a piece of pork to put on the table.
Right. And, you know, I've had people coming up to me, hey, how are you getting so many things in the budget? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to tell them, but, you know, so, you know, but, you know, so it's a lot of work. I mean, we're up there all summer,
right.
You know, I mean, you know how many times we're in Annapolis, we're up there always talking with somebody, always stopping in an office, because it's much easier to ask a favor of a friend than a stranger. And so, you know, we're constantly, you know, being present everywhere we can be. Anytime the governor's saying, hey, can you come to Annapolis? You know, we're there.
Right.
And so, you know, that way, when the time comes to get something in the budget, it's like, yeah, of course, we got you. And so, you know, that's kind of part of the secret.
I do laugh a lot. People complaining to me about how much of their taxes goes to education here in the county.
Yeah.
But when you look at a new school, a $40 million school, so much of the money comes from the state and the federal government. The local part is actually very small.
Yeah.
But that seems to be all that they care about.
Well, it's all the same dollar. I mean,
right.
It's all our dollars, whether it comes from federal, state, or local. It's all coming out of our pocket. So, you know, I get the understanding and I get the concern, but, you know, you have to have a facility to kind of adapt, you know, for the 21st century.
Right.
You know, and so it's necessary. And so it's something you can't just go around. I mean, it's like if you have a car and you don't upkeep the car, you know, if you don't keep the oil changed and stuff, it's going to stop. It's not going to work. It's going to break down on you. And so, you know, so it all should start now with this new building as a proper maintenance plan.
Right.
You know, and I'm sure that the county is working on all that. I trust, you know, our school folks and the county folks to do the right thing. But, you know, there are some schools that really need some attention, and so we're going to do our best to make sure that attention is met.
Right. One in your district, Beaver Run, is...
Delmar as well, Fruitland.
Yeah.
You know, we're all over the place. All of them. 7 of the top 10 are in our district.
Wow.
So
the Delmar one is nice. It's a nice school. But Beaver Run was like a mini Y High. It's built with the sort of the campus style.
Right.
And it just doesn't fit with modern education.
No, and they're having water issues and things there, and so that definitely needs to be kind of reborn.
And then I see you when you go up and you go to the Board of Public Works and you have to lobby for this stuff. It's they call it a begathon.
Yeah.
but you have to be heard by it. They're hearing 70 different requests for
Oh,
schools.
absolutely, yeah.
And you have to make your case
Yeah.
stronger than anyone else's.
Right.
Is that hard or fun or?
It's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun. You know, I mean, superintendent does all the work. I just go up there and just try to, you know, cornbread it up, if you will, you know, and just kind of, you know, and so, you know, and then
And let her know who she has to talk to.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And then we go follow up afterwards. And so we're still doing that stuff now from the one we just had. And so, you know, it's a year-round thing. You know, if, like I said, if you're constantly present, you know, I mean, you're more likely to get what you need. And so that's what we do.
Is it hard to, because you are a hands-on guy, is it hard to keep yourself out of really local stuff?
Yes. Yes, it is. Extremely hard.
And so, not promise people that you can fix
right.
something?
That is tough because you want to. It's just innate that, you know, you want to fix it. You know, like some of the CAFO issues. You're like, all right, we can take care of that. And then I'm like, whoa, wait.
Yeah, the state just does health issues.
Right, I can't.
Nothing else with that.
Right, I can't take care of it. So, but I'll try to point you in the direction where hopefully they will take care of it. And, you know, so it is, I do struggle with that, I'll be honest, because I just think that we should be able to fix everything like that. And, you know, it doesn't work that way. But, you know, I'm becoming to understand that, but I probably will still push too much on local things.
So one of the things that you're known for is the success in getting some money to help the Shorebird Stadium from the state.
Sure. You know, it's been a real honor working with the county executive, you know, on rehabbing Arthur W. Purdue Stadium and the home of the Delmarva Shorebirds and so many other events throughout the year for the community as a whole. And so, you know, there are places that are in Maryland that would give literally anything to have what we're lucky to have.
That's nice, yeah.
You know, I mean, I talk to my colleagues in Cumberland and Hagerstown, and they're just trying to do anything. Hagerstown's trying to save the Hagerstown Suns, and Cumberland's doing what they can to get a team. And so you have all these different places throughout the region that are envious of us because of that. And so, you know, the stadium's 20 years old, you know, and so like I said, with anything that, you know, when it has a certain age on it, you got to upkeep it. And so that's what we're doing. You know, everybody seems to enjoy the new seats, the new video board.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's really cool being able to actually see a replay,
yeah.
You know, and the new field, new lights. And so there are more things coming. There's going to be an expansion of the concourses. And
yeah, they like a catwalk all the way around.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we'll see. The governor's been phenomenal with that, you know, working with us and the county executive and the team to get these things done. And so, you know, it's just really cool seeing tangible things happen.
Yeah, and I think when they invest in that stuff, they get the money back.
Oh yeah, the state gets it back in taxes every year. So does the county, and you know, for us, it's just a tradition now. You know, like as my kids start to have their kids, they'll be third generation Shorebirds fans.
Right.
You know, which is phenomenal.
That's hard to believe.
You know? Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to be a grandparent by any stretch, but if that time comes, you know, I mean, they'll be like, "Come on, Pop," you know, and but it's just really neat, you know, having something like that because there's so many places that would literally give anything for the opportunity.
Right.
So.
You're famous for being kind of over the top in terms of being available to people. Mm-hmm. Anything? What can someone do to reach you to talk to you about the session coming up?
Oh, well, I'm everywhere. I mean, you can just, you know, I had somebody stop me at McDonald's. I got 2 burritos this morning with some hot sauce, and I had somebody stop me right there, and they said, "I can't believe you're in McDonald's." I'm like, "Hey, I love a burrito too." You know, so phone number, of course, you know, 443-359-1335, and you know, I have people now. So many people have my number that, you know, when they text it, just a number shows up. So we have some fun sometimes with those. You know, Facebook, Twitter, what's the other one? Instagram, Snapchat. I don't really know what to do with that, but they got some crazy filters, man.
Right.
It changes your voice, kind of funny. You know, there's one now where you look like a squirrel opening a Christmas present real fast. Yeah. So it's kind of fun. But you know, so there, I mean, there's many ways. You know, I'm absolutely accessible to the people I work for.
And you want to hear from people. It's
That's
not like
the whole
it's
point.
a pain in the butt.
No, not at all. I mean, you know, when you have a job and you work for somebody, you want to hear from your boss, whether it's good or bad. And so we're out there door knocking. It's been really cold this week. But, you know, so we're constantly, you know, out there as much as we can. That was the one thing I promised that we would do, is we'd be as accessible as humanly possible. And, you know, my wife and my kids have been great with the time sacrifice, and I'll spend the rest of my life making that up somehow, because they've given so much. I've missed so many things at home because I just feel in my soul that I'm supposed to be that conduit for, you know, the people I work for. And so she's just turned me loose.
He's our man in Annapolis. He's about to head back up there for another 90-day session, even though it's way more than that, but another 90-day session. Carl Anderton, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely, brother.
Thank you so much.
Right on.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper, another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.